I would say the longevity for me to be on the field with my guys is more important than whatever that one play is. You know, you have more quarters than there would be within just that one play that I'm trying to, you know, show the guys that, you know, I'm competitive.
Welcome to my newest NFL season preview video where we'll be keeping things in the AFC East, talking about why the Miami Dolphins are under pressure in this upcoming 2025 NFL season, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Coming off of a lackluster 8-9 season after Tua Tagovailoa got hurt early in the year, after a successful 11-6 season by their standards in 2023, and making the wild card from the playoffs in the 2022 season, this year in 2025, I believe it really could be a make or break type of season. And the reason I say that is look no further than the head coaching position with Mike McDaniel. Over the past few years in the Mike McDaniel system in Miami, they've been known as having an explosive offense. If you look at the ranks, particularly in the 2023 season, the best season so far with McDaniel at the helm at the coaching position. In terms of a total yards perspective in 2023, they had the most yards of a total offense with nearly 7,000 yards, having over 6,800. And Tyreek Hill, he had an amazing season that year. He had 119 receptions for nearly 1,800 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns in 16 games. And we all know that was the season he was looking to break that 2,000 yard receiving record, coming up short, but he definitely had a dynamic year. And this last year in 2024, like I said, things were to be desired because the biggest problem for the Dolphins is that when Tua Tagovailoa gets hurt, and especially if it's a concussion related or just anything of that nature, their season is pretty much cooked and they have no contingency plan. And I still say they're under pressure now because if you look at their backup quarterback situation, they still have no contingency plan. Zach Wilson right now is essentially the backup quarterback right here in this week as we're starting training camp. Then they drafted Quinn Ewers, of course, as we all know. They also have Brett Gabbert. I mean, these guys are not pushing the pendulum in terms of being a backup quarterback. So what are you going to do? I would maybe like something, and Lord willing, hopefully Tua is able to stay healthy this year because he just signed that 4-year, $212 million deal last year in 2024 for the Dolphins. So all my Dolphins fans in South Beach, I know y'all need him to stay healthy, and for sure want him to stay healthy because that's free money off the books if he's not. Y'all need him to be in the lineup, and he gives y'all the best chance. But the knock about the Dolphins has been the fact that a lot of people don't fear them, not only because of how they play, being flashy, things of that nature, being a super explosive offense, but people don't think that they're a physical football team. From a run game perspective, the Dolphins were really good in the 2023 season when they last made the playoffs. Raheem Mostert even being over 30, he had 209 carries for over 1,000 yards, and obviously he's not on the team anymore, but he played really good. And then Devon Achane, who was a rookie at the time, and now in this year, 2025, going into his third season, he had 103 carries for 800 yards and 11 touchdowns in his rookie year. But in 2024, Raheem Mostert dealt with some injuries. Like I said, Tua Tagovailoa was hurt. That put a lot of pressure on the run game because there was nothing going from a passing standpoint because Skylar Thompson wasn't able to do anything at the quarterback position. And then also they had at times Tyler Huntley playing at the quarterback position, and we all know as a passer he's very limited. So I still think they don't have an answer there. And like I said, in the ideal world, in the perfect world, Tua Tagovailoa is starting every game. You're not having to worry about this. If anything, it's similar to 2023 in terms of a success standpoint. But as we all know then too, they led the division for most of the season, and then in the last game in week 18, the Buffalo Bills still were able to win the division again for at that time for a fourth year in a row. So something has to give with that. But I also don't like the Dolphins, who we already know wasn't going to pay or extend Jonnu Smith, with them trading him to Pittsburgh. And also we all know they traded Jalen Ramsey. I do like the return of Mika Fitzpatrick at that safety position, helping out their defense in the secondary in Miami. But in my opinion, there's still a lot to be desired defensively from the Dolphins because you're still dealing with the recovery of a player like a Jalen Phillips, who I love as a player, but he's dealt with a few injuries now in consecutive seasons. So we'll see how he's able to return in the 2025 season. In terms of a total defensive stats perspective, the Miami Dolphins weren't bad with what they allowed in terms of a per game basis. For the season, they allowed 364 points, which ranked 10th, yards per game 314, and passing yards over 3,500. And they do have some solid pieces that I do like. I mentioned Jalen Phillips, who I do like, and if he's able to be healthy, that's a really impactful player on their defense. And then you add Chop Robinson, who they drafted last year as well, had some solid moments in his rookie year. Kenneth Grant, their first round pick from this season. Like to see how he's going to be able to implement on that defensive line to help stop the run. Only time will tell there. And they also drafted another defensive tackle in Jordan Phillips. They're certainly rebuilding their defensive line, and I still think losing Christian Wilkins in free agency in 2024 last year to the Las Vegas Raiders hurts, but they couldn't sign him to the 4-year, $110 million deal with $82 million guaranteed that the Raiders signed him to. So you cut your losses and you rebuild, and that's what they're doing with their defensive line. But on the offensive end, a player that I'm really intrigued to see how he's implemented along with a Devon Achane to maybe potentially provide a two-back system with Devon Achane is Ollie Gordon, running back for Oklahoma State. And I think he's going to be a sneaky, really good weapon for this team. And honestly, they need him to be because, like I said, you need need as much relief from Tua Tagovailoa as possible. You want to get in that passing game at times, but you want to be efficient and be multiple and not be too reliant on it, because yes, you have pieces like a Tyreek Hill, like Jalen Waddle, and even Devontae Achane. He's really good at the pass game as well too. But you want to be able to have a weapon who can be very physical as a runner. And Ollie Gordon, at his 6'1", 225 frame at the running back position, he is really dominant. I think that he slipped to the 6th round only because of how Oklahoma State played, and frankly, he didn't have a great year in the 2024 season. I will say that, but in 2023, he finished 7th overall in a Heisman voting in 2023, and that was his sophomore year. And if we look at his stats from his sophomore season, we understand why before the 2024 season, he was looked at being one of the top backs going into the 2025 draft before the season happened. That was very tumultuous for Oklahoma State. In the 2023 season, he had 285 carries for over 1,700 rushing yards, 21 rushing touchdowns, and also in the receiving game, he had 39 receptions for 330 receiving yards and a touchdown too. So he had 22 total touchdowns. He was a very dominant force. And like I said, in 2024, that tailed down some because there was really some incompetent quarterback play from Alan Bowman, which we already know he was an older quarterback, things of that nature too. And he wasn't bad in 2023, but like I said, 2024 sucked for Oklahoma State. I mean, they were 3-9 and 0-9 in Big 12 play, so it was awful. But in 2024, Ollie Gordon, he didn't have a great year. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. He had 190 carries for 880 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, which isn't bad, 179 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. But like I said, you go from 1,700 rushing yards in one year to 880 the next. That's almost an 1,000-yard difference. That certainly is kind of eye-raising, but like I said, Oklahoma State was not a good football team. And if you're able to have a competent offensive line in front of him, which we will see, because according to PFF, the Miami Dolphins are ranked as a 25th offensive line going into this season. That's not great, but we'll see what they do. We all know that Teron Armstead, he retired, was a really dominant offensive lineman for a long time for that team, and also in his days in New Orleans. But they're going to be looking for a player like their 2nd round draft pick from 2024 and Patrick Paul to step up at that left tackle position. They also picked up a guy in free agency like James Daniels, and they also drafted offensive lineman Johnny Sevenia. I probably said his name wrong. They drafted him in the 2nd round this season, so we'll see what that offensive line does. But with all that being said, though, if their offensive line is competent, though, Ollie Gordon, he could really be an impact rookie right away, and maybe even have like a Bucky Irvin type of impact. But they have to be steady for sure and be able to help keep Tua upright, because if Tua is affected and misses any time this year, like I said, they have no contingency plan. They have no other second option at that quarterback position to be competent and really to be competitive, because they folded. And you don't want to be in a position like last season where Tua comes back, but it's not enough and you still fall short of the playoff race and you're picking 13th overall in the draft again for another year. You don't want to be bad, but not bad enough to be not picking in the top 10 or top 5, but being too good to where you can't be able to get one of those great draft picks. You either want to be really good or you want to be shite. So exactly. But with that being said, though, guys, before we dive even deeper into why the Dolphins are under pressure in the 2025 NFL season, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and turn on post notifications. You know we post about here videos about the NBA, NFL, Marvel, DC, pop culture, all types of content, all types of videos, and a lot more coming in this NFL season preview series. But with that being said, let's talk about why the Miami Dolphins are under pressure in this upcoming season.
This is my first time. I haven't been in the playoffs, man, so I mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here, or if that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like I'm out, bro. You know, so
yeah, that time was very bad. I remember week 18 after the season ended, it seemed like Tyreek Hill was pissed. Maybe wanted to request a trade. There was a lot of chatter and stuff like that. But it's just a pent-up frustration of really how good this team can be. But they've missed so many opportunities. Now, contextualizing this, though, Tyreek Hill has went back and apologized for these comments and said he loves being in Miami. That was just a frustration in the last game and missing the playoffs. And you look back to that wild card game against the Chiefs in 2023. They lost to the Buffalo Bills that season in that last game, and it really just seemed like a lot of stuff went downhill. And I talked about the narratives a little bit earlier, but a lot of people don't see them as a physical football team in Miami. They think that they're so comfortable in hot temperature, they can't play cold weather games, things like that. And to be fair, those are reasonable accusations because they haven't stepped up in the big games, in the big moments, and even from a regular season perspective. But as we all know, though, or as a lot of people know, that this stat is crazy. The Miami Dolphins have not won a playoff game since 2000. Since 2000, guys. At the recording of this video, I turned 23 years old tomorrow. And the last time they won a playoff game was 2 years before I was born. So that puts a lot in perspective. It has been a minute, Miami. 2000, that's a long time. That's 25 years. I mean, it's going to be the 25-26 season. It's going to be 2026 when these upcoming playoffs start. So something has to give, man. And like I said, they are under pressure a lot because, yes, Mike McDaniel, he's made the playoffs 2 times out of his 3 seasons so far as head coach in Miami, but making the playoffs isn't the full goal. I mean, you want to get there, obviously. That's a part of the journey and the mission. But in a crowded AFC, as we all know already, the goal is to win. And I think really an expectation and a reasonable expectation for this team should be to not only make the playoffs, but to win a playoff game. And that might be a lot, like I said, especially in AFC, where you have teams like, of course, the Chiefs, the Bills, who have owned that division, winning 5 straight AFC East titles in that division. You have the Ravens, you have the Bengals, potentially, if they're able to win and not start off slow, the Texans. I mean, I could just go on with the amount of teams that are really good. The Chargers, the Broncos. There's always a surprise team too, potentially, so you can never count that out. The Steelers are always solid. So with all that being said, the Dolphins have to do something, man, because if they miss the playoffs again, if Tua misses time, if they lose in the first round again or something like that, or they get dominated, bro, like, what are we gonna do? Like, what are the Dolphins gonna do? And I just think that there's a lot of ways for this team to be successful this upcoming season, but they have to put it together. And one move that I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really crazy about, that I think wasn't great for them, is hiring Bobby Slowick, as example, as a passing game coordinator. It's no disrespect to Bobby Slowick, because in 2023 he had a really good year with CJ Stroud as a first-year offensive coordinator, but in 2024 we saw that their offense was stagnating and they didn't evolve at all. And the Texans offense, if you look at the statistics last year, they had the 22nd ranked offense, and this is a 10-7 team that won the division for a second year in a row and had a top 6 to 7 defense in the league. And I say all of that to say, because I know Bobby Slowick, he's in the offensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. Ultimately, Mike McDaniel is going to be calling the plays as a head coach, but at the same time, though, he's still feeding advice and things of that nature too. So you don't want your offense at all to get stagnated, and really it does need a lot of involvement as well too, because even at times when Tua was healthy last season, teams were able to still key in and caught on to some of the things that were strong suits for the Miami Dolphins in 2023. But if you look at it from a game perspective and Tua's tenure with the Miami Dolphins in the last 5 years, with Tua Tagovailoa, they are 38-24. They score 25 points per game. In the games that he has missed, they are 9-13 and average only 19.4 points per game. In games with Tua, they have a touchdown margin of over +7, and without him, they have a margin of -8. So, like I said, the impact of him is apparent. And I can really overcomplicate this video, but I really won't, because, you know, their defense in 2023, that's why it's hard to exactly compare it to that season, because they had Vic Fangio, who we all know was a defensive coordinator for the Eagles in 2024 and helped them win a Super Bowl. And now they have Kenny Weaver as their defensive coordinator, who is solid as well. Came from the Baltimore Ravens, and I think he's a really good coordinator. But the main thing for the Miami Dolphins is for them health, with not only Tua, but Tyreek Hill as well too, Jalen Waddle. He's dealt with some knocks and bruises too. And just overall, they need stability in their defense, and they need to be able to have a solid, not only pass rush, but also stopping the run. They have that narrative of not being a quote-unquote physical football team, just being flashy, being a cute team, but not being physical. So that's what I see from the Miami Dolphins in terms of a pressure perspective. But Tua Tagovailoa individually, he needs to show that he's a potentially top 10 to 12 quarterback in this league, because he's getting paid like a top 5 one, as we all know. Like I said, his contract, he's getting paid over $50 million per year, which ranks him at the 6th position. And we can all agree that he's not a top 6 to top 5 quarterback. Like I said, I think he's top 10 to 12 or even 13. He needs to show not only why he's making that money, but he needs to show that he can stay healthy. And a lot of people have had the conversations, that he should retire if he gets another concussion and stuff like that. We need to accept that that's not going to happen. I mean, he loves the game too much, and Miami has put a huge investment into him. So with the Dolphins, it's really simple. Those two are the main culprits in terms of what determines their success in this upcoming season: Tua Tagovailoa's health and Mike McDaniel in the Miami Dolphins. But if we want to look at their schedule and stuff like that, because I love to look at these teams' schedules in this upcoming season, the Dolphins have the 9th easiest schedule, and their over/under on wins is 8.5, and I can certainly see that. If you want to look at their schedule right now, starting in week 1, they play against the Colts, and they have the Patriots in their division. Those two games are very winnable. Against the Bills, not gonna lie, in recent years we've seen the Bills ultimately dominate them, and sometimes there are close games, but even in those games the Bills still end up winning those. They play the Jets, the Panthers, the Chargers. That's not an easy game. But then they have teams like the Browns, they have the Falcons, they have the Ravens, and the Ravens dominated them a couple years ago. I don't know if y'all remember, but when the Ravens played the Dolphins in 2023, the Ravens won that 56-19. So that was a certain bludgeoning of a game. I don't know about that one, but then after that, they play against the Bills again. Then they have the Commanders, not an easy game. They have the Saints, that should be winnable. The Jets again. The Steelers, that's going to be a hard game. A team that they actually just made that Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith trade with, acquiring Minka Fitzpatrick. And the Bengals and the Buccaneers too. Then finishing off with the Patriots in week 18. When I'm looking at that, I'm not going to lie, that 8.5 win total makes sense, because I'm looking at teams against the Bills twice. That could be a sweep. Even if you look at their division, I could see the Patriots, they could be improved. That could be a split in the division as well. The Jets, they're going to be more physical, and Aaron Glenn at the head coaching position, I can see them potentially improving. I mean, they just extended guys like Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. I know they're looking to have bounce back seasons after a rough season that the Jets had in 2024, after all those expectations with Aaron Rodgers and stuff. So they could be rejuvenated. Like I said, they play against the Steelers, they play against the Bucks, the Bengals, the Commanders, even the Falcons. That could be a tough game too, depending on the success of Michael Penix Jr. and what they they do there, because they have a lot of weapons in Atlanta with Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Darnell Mooney, even still Kyle Pitts, and the Chargers as well too, a very physical football team that will run the ball down their throats. So it's tough, man. I'm gonna give the Dolphins the benefit of the doubt. I can maybe see them going 9-8, maybe even 10-7 if all things go right and they win a game against an unexpected team, or even split against the Bills, because I think that's really what it comes down to. I like playing against Buffalo because when Buffalo dominates them, I mean, we know that it's pretty much clipped in their division. And if y'all watch my Bills season preview, I still think it's gonna be that way. But if the Dolphins can shock a lot of people and, you know, win some games that they're not necessarily supposed to, they can be right back in the playoff picture. But for me, the end all be all with them is not winning a playoff game. If I was the Miami Dolphins internally, from their team perspective, my expectation and my want to would be for sure to not only make the playoffs but win in the first round. I think that should be their biggest goal. But right now, they just need to make the playoffs and in the first round not get blown out, not get smoked. If you lose in the first round and have a respectable loss, then okay, we can do that. I could potentially see Mike McDaniel staying there even longer. Granted, before last season in 2024, the Dolphins did extend Mike McDaniel to a 3-year contract extension as well too, but we know in the NFL that means nothing nowadays, because coaches will get fired after signing a 4-year deal, and they'll get fired 6 games after that deal. Just look at Frank Wright in 2023. Look at Urban Meyer with the Jaguars in 2021. Just a lot of these different situations. I mean, if you're not getting success and if it looks ugly, these teams will move on from you in an instant. So I certainly don't hope that for Mike McDaniel, because we see that he is an innovative, for sure, offensive mind, and I love the type of charisma and personality and really the uniqueness of him at the head coaching position. So Miami, y'all do have a favorable schedule in ways, but also I could see them going 9-8 or even 8-9. But for me, if I had to predict, I'll probably say they're 9-8 and make the playoffs. And like I said, if you lose respectively in the playoff in the first round, you can improve, add free agents in the off season, depending on your salary cap situation. If you can get off some money, restructuring some deals and things like that to create salary cap space, and then having a solid draft too. And if you hit in the draft, man, that really helps, because you have a lot of people and impact players on rookie deals too. So really all that plays hand in hand to the Miami Dolphins this upcoming season. But make no mistake about it, they're under pressure regardless you like it or not. Miami Dolphins fans, I'm not hating on you, I'm not being negative about y'all. Y'all know the outside perception of this team for sure, that people think that they're a weak football team, think that they're not physical at all, that people don't think that this team is tough, that they're in ways don't have a sense of urgency at times too, just because, you know, being in Miami and South Beach, being comfortable and stuff like that. But if anything, this team should be the definition of uncomfortable and really motivated and really have a chip on their shoulders, because they have all the bulletin board material that they need to be rejuvenated and have a really good 2025 season. I can see it, but it really starts this week in training camp, really for all 32 NFL teams, but really for this Miami Dolphins team as well too, to change the narrative, because they have a talented roster. It's just really about them putting things together. But I can see them making the playoffs this year and being a wild card. And for me, like I said, if I was them, if I was players individually, of course, this expectation and the want to is to win a Super Bowl, but realistically, the goal for them should be to make the playoffs. And if they win in the first round and make it to the divisional round, that would be a ultimate successful season in my opinion too for them. But even making the playoffs, considering how last year went, that would be a step in the right direction. But like I said, y'all let me know what y'all thinking, y'all expectations for the Dolphins this year. They have potential, but potential is only so much when you can't put it together. So hopefully Tua can stay healthy, really their whole roster can stay healthy. Tyreek Hill can have a bounce back year, because like I said, he had a dominant 2023 season, but last year without Tua, he had 81 catches for 959 yards. And granted, for a lot of receivers, that's a really good season. But for his expectation, Tyreek Hill, who we consider a top 3 to 5 receiver in the league, having 81 catches for 959 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns, that's not enough for his perspective, especially after nearly having 1,800 receiving yards in the season before. So we'll see how things go with them. But I'm excited ultimately overall for this upcoming year, but really excited for a team like Miami to really change the narrative and show why they belong and why they can be a team that can be competitive in the AFC, because make no mistake, the AFC is loaded. But yeah, guys, y'all let me know, how do y'all see the Miami Dolphins finishing this season? Do y'all think they're under pressure regardless of the situation? I definitely think they do. They have a healthy amount of pressure on them, but every major NFL team does that has done something. And like I said, is this the year that they break that streak of not having a playoff win in 25 seasons? Y'all let me know in the comments down below, because that would be a great thing for them, because they need to get that monkey off their back. Because every time the Dolphins are talked about on a national level or just really in general, I hear that stat all the time. So y'all let me know how y'all think the Dolphins will finish and perform in the 2025 NFL season. I appreciate you guys watching. Always make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and turn on post notifications. Stay tuned for more videos in this series. That's 2 videos down on the AFC East, 2 more to go before we move on to the NFC West. And for these next upcoming videos, we're going to talk about the New York Jets in the next video, which I'm really intrigued to talk about. Like I said, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner just got extended. Looking forward to talking about Aaron Glenn being a head coach now in New York as well, with his former squad that he used to play on back in the day with the Jets. And then in the final video for the AFC East, we'll of course be talking about the New England Patriots, who have a rejuvenated roster as well, adding a lot of pieces not only through the draft but also from a free agent perspective as well too. So a lot to talk about with the rest of this division and really the rest of the league too. So I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, training camp is ramping up this week. Football is getting closer to being back, guys. I'm so excited. No offense to the MLB and baseball and the NBA Summer League, because I love the NBA. That's my favorite sports, but I do love football. We need the NFL back so bad. We need college football back, and I'm excited because we're almost here, guys. Next thing you know it, you'll blink and we'll be eating good from a football perspective on Sundays and Saturdays, Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays. We're lit, guys. I'm excited. But yeah, guys, with all that being said, y'all keep being blessed, being legendary. You know that you are loved. God has so many great things for you. Keep Jesus Christ at the center of everything that you do. Y'all keep being amazing. I love y'all and see y'all soon. Y'all have a good one.